Hello, good evening. Welcome to SG4, where we've got some Link to the Past randomizer main tournament action. Uh, Group play still going on. We got a Kabuki race this evening between Leaf and Fred Coughlin. This is Group W. As it stands right now, we do have a clear winner for Group F. That is a one Mr. Fibonacci, or PH112358. Going a clean 6-0. This is the last race of Group W tonight. Fred and Leaf are currently sitting at 3-2 and 2-3 respectively, with really Dragon, the fourth member, unfortunately going 0-6 in groups. So this race does have implications. If Leaf wins tonight, then we will see a tiebreaker between Leaf and Fred at a later time. If Fred wins tonight, he will take second place in group and move into the brackets at 4-2. So we shall see what happens this evening. But good evening, everybody. I'm Jesse Radical Sniper 99. Thank you for joining, and let's have some fun with Escape. Little early end of the dash there for Fred, unfortunately, but hey, we're all good. Just syncing it up. Thank you to our setup helper. I think Sigma was on setup tonight, so big shout outs there to help out. We also got two trackers for us. Holsetti and Malkier, thank you to both of you for handling tracking tonight. Makes my life a lot easier when I got some tracker friends always. So yeah, we're just starting with the basic casual boots escape. The only real wrinkle of the casual boots escape here is whether or not we need to find that Hyrule Castle small key in Agate Tower. That can happen in this mode. It has happened in this tournament. We're not sure, but we shall see what happens. We got a few chances for that not to be the case, though, this evening, starting right here at the map chest. But just Heart Container. But yeah, Kabuki, if you have not seen any races of the main tourney so far this year, Kabuki is in all dungeons key sanity mode with a casual boot start. So we must beat all 7 crystals, all 3 pendants, Aga 1 and Aga 2 before we can kill Ganon. So lots of keys to find, lots of items to find, no way around really any of it. Just a single rupee there in the boom chest, so once again, still looking for that Hyrule Castle small key. On the plus side, we have not seen a Master Sword or a cape that would put us into Agate Tower. The one worry here is Leaf playing a little aggressive, not picking up the magic in the secret passageway. That's always kind of a safety item you want to have just in case this becomes an Aga Seed or an Aga required start with cape. So we'll see if that becomes a problem on Leaf's side. Good 8 from Fred, nice 1 pot 4 from Leaf to get through that. And all we get is a heart container. So we're looking at Dark Cross being the answer to our question of what we need to do. Pretty even at this moment. We're just kind of moving in synchronization a little bit. Always interesting to see some of the dash lines that people do in favor of others and any time loss or gain. I mean, even with the extra dashes on Leaf's side, it didn't really gain any time on Fred. Like those dashes just did not provide extra value. But didn't lose time. Like, the opposite side of the dash question is, like, do you do a micro dash that causes you to lose time? And that was also not the case for Leaf. So you like to see that it's kind of just time neutral. Nice pushes of the altar there. We get to continue on here into the dark portion. In terms of a time you're looking for in a kabuki, low 510s is generally pretty good. It depends a lot on the text boxes you can get in Escape. There's our Hyrule Castle small key in Dark Cross, so very vanilla escape sequence. But yeah, so when we talk like Kaz Boots as kind of the sister mode here, or the similar mode you're used to, we talk about a low 504, you know, getting towards that 5 flat in Kaz Boots. Kabuki, because of text boxes, we expect usually a little longer, usually into the low 510s, is pretty normal. So we're making good time here. Not a lot of great resources here. Like 2 red rupees are not the worst, but you know, that's not really progression. It's not items to work with, no direction yet. 3 bombs is a nice start for when we get to CAC though. But Leaf first out of Escape, a little bit like in that mid 5-teens. Oh, nice, a flute. I was saying we didn't really get any progression here. A flute changes that. That makes life a lot easier on decision making. We will go and activate that flute and do the normal CAC start. As we also find some fire. Leaf pulling that fire rod out of the Bonk Rocks. Now, Leaf is going to head up towards a Lumberjack, so we are going to get a scout of Aga Ledge. We'll see if we might expect an earlier Aga kill in this one. The tier 2 from Leaf shows us it's nothing. We're going to get to see the Bush Crab as well. Bush Crab is the 8 bomb drop. Nice. That is a good drop. Mushroom spot, nothing over on Fred's end. And what was that? I did not catch that. Was that a map? As Fred pulls that book out of the thief drop. Okay, you think it was 10 arrows? Okay, either way, nothing of substantial value, so not a biggie. Leaf pulling out that book, he might go, they might go for a pet read here. Not a bad choice. We also get to see the tier 1 on Leaf's side. They find out it is just single bombs, so bombs are free. Oh, was that a 10? It looked like the bottom of the map to me. Thanks, everybody. We have a pod small key on the pedestal. What that does tell us is we now know pod has to be one of our crystals tonight. We don't know if it's a 5-6 crystal or anything else. All we know is that it is, in fact, a crystal. All 6 small keys are required to kill Helmasaur, so we can definitely say that that is a crystal dungeon. Heading into Cackwell here. Fred apparently got a bottle out of the Blind's Hut. A little bit of money. We do like to see that. A lot of money as we pull a 3 hundo. Even more money. 2 3 hundos. Wow. Okay. Good starter money for our runners here. You'll love to see it in Kabuki or Kaz Boots. If you got that early money, then a water walk. Plus, we get the flippers off of our bottle vector. And as always, Fred, the purveyor of bombs for all of our favorite spots in the game, giving a gift. There's that bottle we saw on Fred's side. It does have a bee in it. I'm not sure what kind of bee. Maybe Leaf will give us a look. Could always want to sell it as we come up on Bottle Vendor. Gotta say, people throwing chickens at bomb walls always scares me a little bit. There's a first of our pod smalls. Map to Thieves Town, not really any help there. But yeah, when you get early, okay, when you do Kabuki or Kaz Boots and you come out of Ice Rock Cave, like one of the favorite things of runners is to really do that water walk for Waterfall and turn that into like a Check of Zora area. So having that money kind of allows you to route in more of it. And now that we have flippers, it's even in logic. So really nice way to combo those. Fred just seen some bombs on the race game. It's interesting to see people's philosophy on how to handle that play now. Usually key sanity. I think a lot of runners will try to do that without scouting. Kind of just do it blindly and hope that it's something. Just because there's such a higher likelihood of it being an item of value. But Fred playing a little bit more risky with it. Gonna go with the scout. Is that what the MSU is, Wayfaring Fox? I am not aware of this one. Unfortunately, I've never been a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon person, so I appreciate the knowledge wherever helpful. I know my MSUs, and sometimes I don't know them, and I appreciate people who do. Explorers of Sky. See, I wouldn't even know all the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. My extent of Pokemon knowledge is pretty much the mainline games and some stadium stuff. That's about as far as it goes. By the way, this is kind of a little thing in terms of minor time saves when you're doing something like Mini Moldron Cave in a boots start. Dashing up to the NPC and then doing left or right, and then the one right next to that, and then dashing all the way across is kind of your most efficient play. We're talking minor time saves here, but you know, when you're looking at, you know, potentially being into brackets and trying to make brackets, like all those little time saves do kind of add up. Fred giving us Ice Rock Cave, another small key, this time to Desert. Interesting, as we do already have our book, so some value already kind of showing up here. Leaf giving us the gold B usage. It was a gold B, and Leaf saying, I'm going to use it here. I don't care about the money. I've got 676 rupees. I am perfectly safe money-wise for the rest of this seed, probably. PTG, I get it. I was the prime age as a kid for the original Red and Blue. Really enjoyed Yellow, then Gold and Silver. When that third generation came, I kind of fell out of it for a bit. Got back in a little later, so back and forth with the series, depending on my mood. Okay, so a little bit of a weird route here from Fred. I think with that initial water walk, I probably, if I was going to scout that island, I would have done that on the way to our man under the bridge. Not a huge time loss, but you know, you look for it wherever you can get those little time saves and how to route them together. So similarly, I would say the same for Leaf, and Leaf is actually going to run this back and see that. That was our Thieves Town small key out of the waterfall, as well as another 3 hundo. Money is just free, folks. Apparently, you know, you can just find it everywhere. In wells and in waterfalls. I don't know what that says about wishing wells anymore. I would love to be able to say yes, Lenophis, but, you know, like, I think we all would. This bleak look at reality brought to you on SG4 tonight. That's a mirror, though, on our scamfish friend. Very nice item. Very glad we got 900 rupees early in this seed. Where are we going, Fred? You got desert and the mountain, probably some of your best options here. And this is a mountain trip. We're going to rescue Old Man. Take a look at Spec Rock, maybe the first two in Hera, and maybe even a reading of our Ether tablet. I don't know, maybe it's the fact that the money ends up in wells, you know, like wells and waterfalls. People just throw their money in the water, like, you know, I don't know. Are throwing like coins in fountains still a thing? Well, you know, it's just me in the comm booth, so like I can say stuff and like I can have a conversation with chat and we keep it fun. Don't want to just keep talking to myself the whole time. I imagine I'm talking to all of you. Leaf also heading up Death Mountain and gonna rescue our Old Man. That is a Master Sword on top of Spec Rock. Really nice find. That does mean we can get at that Ether tablet and find out what the item is. All good, Ruby. That is a Bombos medallion. I will say, in terms of the getting Bombos, I think there's a world I get the Bombos after checking Ether Tablet and Hera, but it's not terrible. Like, I don't think there's necessarily a good or bad choice here on Fred's side. We've had a little bit of trouble here on the Old Man Rescue. I did hear a fall in there, unfortunately, but able to get it done. There's our Master Sword on Fred's side. Oh, that was a heart container, Old Man, yeah. We're getting pretty healthy to start this race. Ether Tablet, though. Nice that we'll be able to get this our first trip. And it's a glove. So we're starting to put together a nice little Desert Palace kit. Like, I think there's a world where we get fire and a big key between what we have left. And because of that, I might hit Agena before going into desert here. Like, I think there's a world I want to maybe have that as a little bonus. By the way, Leaf doing what I was kind of talking about. Gonna head here and hit Ether Tablet before the internal Spec Rock play for Bombos Medallion. Our Desert Ledge, though, just a small key. And yeah, like, at this point, I'm wondering if Fire and Big Key are just available for Desert, and this is meant to be a clearable Desert Palace before we kind of hit Dark World. Oh wait, never mind, we have Fire. We have a Fire Rod. Then of course, if we can find just a Desert Big Key, that's a killable Lanimolus. What am I saying, folks? But just a compass there on the right side. Nothing really helping us out there yet. We've got our map to Mire. The other possibility I look at here is maybe hitting Sahasrara real quick before heading here. Like, there's just signs that this is an early desert, and I'm, like, unfortunately for Fred, just nothing showed up. Like, we didn't get progression here. And that small key, like, what's it gonna be? Like, are we just getting a Hera Small there? I don't know, but I'm getting a feeling that, like, either Desert Big's available in Eastern or even Agena, or, like, the other possibility is maybe a Mitz. are available, and we're expected to do like checkerboard or something like that. Like we're kind of running low on good. Fred giving the gifts of bombs. This time one to Agina. And that's a hook shot. Okay, never mind. The seed has said, go to East Death Mountain. Still, I think you hit Saha. Saha's a really tempting quick check. It's not like it routes... Like, the routing of Saha here isn't too much, like, benefited versus Eastern. You have that glove, so you can take the quicker route into Eastern Palace with the glove. So there's definitely a part of me that's like, you should get Saha real quick, and just in case it's actually really important. And yeah, an early hook is a very nice item. You love to see it in these modes. Like, I think that's one of the funs of Kabuki is like, you know, you're not getting kind of shorted out of a particular item. In this case, like, you don't have to worry necessarily as much about like hover seeds, especially if you're a non-hover. But yeah, that's another pod small actually. Red mail for Fred. Yeah, we are safe, we are healthy, and we are happy. That's a great start in that sense. We got a small key to TR, an ether medallion. Still nothing in terms of more of our Dark World kit though. 20 bucks and a small key to ice. Fred running a little low on his bomb count here. I always worry because like I appreciate the bit with Fred always giving bombs out to so many of our NPCs in the game. I just always wonder like how that's going to come back and bite him occasionally because the low bomb counts. Resource management is free-ish. Okay, Spiral Cave coming up on Fred's side. Leaf just coming in a little bit behind. Not too bad. There's the Moon Pearl. I will say, if Sahasrahla is the mitts, I'm going to feel bad for both of our runners on that one. That would kind of stink. That we couldn't hit DDM here as well. Now, Leaf, they have full health, so we get those sword beams to hit the switch. Fred heading over to Sahasrahla. Do we get Dark World access here, or are we going to have to go into Eastern without Bow and Big Key? Fred, we want to know where Green Pendant is, please. That's a heart container, that is a heart piece, and that is a hammer. That is Dark World. I think we're bailing. Yep. Lenophis, why? Why do you suggest such terribly sad things? Fred is gonna head into Dark World through the Vu portal. A little non-traditional in routing, don't hate it, but maybe not what you're expecting to see in this one. I will say, without a... Oh wait, we do have a Skull Small Key, so like, I think if you pick up that Full Magic here, Full Magic Decanter bonking this tree right here, good call by Fred, then Skull is free. That's a free 7 out of 8 items. You're on Red Mail, Master Sword, like, I love it. I mean, the name of the game when it comes to Kabuki is efficiency, okay? So if you want to know what makes good runs for Kabuki, it's trying to get good, efficient work here, where your goal is to kind of hit as much as you can in a line. You know, so we're not looking for one-offs necessarily, so like Castle Tower is kind of a slow one check. So you want to pair it with other stuff. The more you can pair, the more you can merge, the happier you're going to be in the long run. And I will see what we're seeing from Leaf here. They're doing more of a traditional play. I think a lot of Dark World routing starts with hype. I think that's how I would start this one in hopes of getting like a better route into Vu. I don't think Fred's necessarily wrong. Like, Fred's going to get that first crystal a little bit better, a little bit faster. But I personally prefer Leaf's route. We get a small key to Turtle Rock off the NPC. Bottle, a small key to Pod. We're getting a little bit of a collection going. Yeah, I think that would be, like, I think there's some value in that knowledge. Like, there is so much value in that knowledge for this seed. Like, it's not so much necessarily that, like, Pod is a crystal. The knowledge that you're gaining by knowing that Pod is a crystal is that GT is locked behind 10 dungeons. Okay? This is where the value of that knowledge is for Leaf. Knowing that you need to beat all 3 pendants to get to GT means nothing for a pendant dungeon is in GT. The only key that could be in GT is a CT small or the GT big. And there's our first CT small for Leaf. So, like, that is massive knowledge right now on Leaf's side, and I hope, like, they can take that further, and, like, this is why I think it's valuable for Fred to do the check. Leaf gonna take that fact that we got our first CT small to head into CT. We know that the LJ ledge is nothing. So Leaf's just gonna say, let me knock out these 2 items. Nice Gibdo kill there before Moth. That is the NMG strat for how to get through that room. That's why we don't like sword beams in this dungeon, not just because of Moth, but also because of that Gibdo kill. And that's our second item out of CT. They're both nothing, but I will say, like, the fact that Leaf got both of those items here and gets that first CT small key, like, Leaf's getting some good info early. Fred with that kill of the Moth gets a small key to Meyer and our first crystal. Leaf headed north. We'll see if this is King's Tomb Graveyard Ledge to Catfish or Catfish back. Looks like we're going to hit the Catfish first. Fred is mirroring here. This could be either choice. It's going to be the Ped Read, so Fred's going to get that knowledge. Gets to see small key for Palace of Darkness. So yeah, both of our runners well aware of the fact that this is a logical Ped Seed, and thus nothing for our Pendant or Crystal dungeons is in, well, nothing for our Crystals, of course, but nothing for Pendant dungeons is in GT. So we have in parity of information. Leaf coming back across the north side here of Dark World, going to give us King's Tomb and Graveyard Ledge. Fred doing kind of the same, also going to give that Lumberjack Ledge check. So some of those checks that Leaf routed in a little earlier, Fred coming back to get that info now. And yeah, Toffile, I agree completely. We have seen that Pyramid Ledge especially can be pretty nasty. And, like, if I'm Fred, I think there's a world where, like, I don't know when we hit it. Like, it looks like Fred's being pretty smart here with the route, but, like, I have to imagine Fred is going to take this Graveyard King back into Vu and not over to Catfish Pyramid. And, like, after the pod key buildup we were starting to get, like, Leafs on 3 pod keys, I could imagine that Vu or Dig or 45 or even Swamp has another. that like we're already in good range for a lot of checks in pod, and I'd be really tempted to go there, but that's a graveyard ledge key for Skull, so it's not as severe of a thing. What I said is top file is like the information associated with knowing Ped is a pod small is the more valuable piece here. You know a lot more about what you have to complete in this game and how it orders. Like, you might not care that pod's a crystal, and like that's probably a good small key to have there because there's 6 and you can easily skip one. But knowing that GT is so much more limited in its items is a really nice piece to think about. So yeah, like Fred did King's Tomb and Graveyard Ledge and then came into Vu. Like the question is, how does Fred route finishing up Vu? Like, okay, we're going to do this Vu check. Are we going to do Pyramid Ledge into pod? Are we going to do pod after hype? I'm not sure what his play is. Oh, that was an ice big key. Okay, we've got a great set of items for ice. Bombos and Fire Rod is really good. There's our Skullwood's big key. Fred, you heading back for Skull, buddy? Meanwhile, Chest Game is going to give us another big key, this time to Desert. You know, I said Desert Palace was going to be an option. I just didn't think it was going to be here. I thought it was going to be earlier. Honestly, any big key you can find is good. Wish we had that Thieves Big, but unfortunately, no. Leaf getting that full magic decanter before heading further in. The other nice thing for Leaf here is they can skip this Gibdo and just go straight for Moth. That extra Skull Find means we can skip the Gibdo kill. So easy. Yo, nice kill, Leaf. Good job. Did we know that Hera was? I didn't remember if anybody talked to Sahasrahla, so news to me. I missed the dialogue. Yo, that is only 4 digs or 3 digs, and we've got a bottle. Okay, so that Bow and Thieves Town, like I said, like I think there's a world Fred could skip out on Pyramid Ledge. I really don't doubt that kind of play. Like, you've got the 3 pod smalls, you've got options. Like, Fred's gonna get the 3rd pod small out of hype. Here's another small key. Is it another pod small? It's the other Castle Tower small. The only thing that could be in GT tonight is a GT big key, and that's even gonna be unlikely. Honestly, in terms of a route here for Fred, I'm thinking like I'm hitting Hype Cave down to Bombo's Tablet, and then I'm beating Desert. Like, Hype is the obvious. Yeah, I think the problem is like, okay, and yeah, here's what I was a little concerned about is Fred gonna head over to the Bombos tablet. I don't think we check first chest of Swamp. I don't think that's a problem. But after that, we go beat Desert, and then I'm fluting to 5 and entering Pod. Bombos tablet just giving us our map to Swamp. And yeah, as I said, here comes Desert. And Leaf heading back for Skull Big Chest. I think this is like, there's not a lot of great opportunities for this check. Like when we get mitts, maybe, but like there's just not a ton on options. So I love the play. Like Leaf's hoping this is a Thieves Big Key, and I see the logic. But just a piece of heart. We are very healthy in this seed, folks. We got red mail. Fred's got 11 hearts. Leaf's on, what, 10? Like, we're healthy. Feel confident. Run into enemies. Tank those hits. And yeah, so as we said, tonight's race between Leaf and Fred. Here are the implications on this Group W race. Am I correct? Was it Group W? Yeah, Group W. We've already got a winner in Group W. We know that a one Mr. Fibonacci, PH112358, has clinched the group with a 6-0 record. Fred currently sitting at 3-2. Leaf is currently sitting at 2-3. Ridley Dragon has unfortunately went 0-6 in the group and is knocked out. But this race will decide what happens. If Leaf wins, we will have a tiebreaker race next week between Fred and Leaf. If Fred wins tonight, Fred moves on to brackets with a 4-2 record. So, a lot riding on this one. And this is that pod play coming on Fred's side. So, if you want some good old tiebreaker action between our two runners, hope for the win from Leaf. Meanwhile, we did get that crystal out of Desert Palace on Fred's side. We're not sure, of course, if we've got any 5/6s. Thieves is a crystal. That Mire was a pendant on Leaf's map check. As we see Fred into Palace of Darkness. We got 5 in logic checks here with that bow and 3 smalls. If we had a 4th small, that would add a few more checks, but at current, we are only at 3 logical keys. As we get our blue boom. And of course, folks, I will point out we do have at least one other race tonight coming up later. I believe that one also has very important tournament implications starting started 15 minutes ago, actually. Plasma Kappa and Incoherent over on SpeedGaming 2. That is a Group A Kabuki race and has some important implications for brackets as well. So that was the Hera Big Key. But yeah, I mean, we're in the last week of group play here, folks. So what's going to happen is that Sunday is our last day for getting groups done here. And then after that, next week will be tiebreakers, of course, over here in the United States. That is also Thanksgiving week. So a good little break of a week for everybody involved, hopefully. So next week, yeah, we'll have no groups, but maybe some tiebreakers. And then after that, we, of course, will get into the bracket stage. Those are mitts. It is the Titans mitts in the front of pod. So yeah, we're nearing the brackets where everything means just that much more. People are starting to punch tickets into brackets. We're going to find out who gets those all very nice buys. There are the bracket, of course, this year a little smaller. So, you know, if you can get us a buy in round one, you'll take it. Dark basement, nothing. Another 300 there on the other side of the dark basement. I wouldn't say anybody's got a lead quite yet. Like, Fred's a little bit further along, but Leaf does have a very, very important Castle Tower small key that they got off of the Pyramid Ledge. So from that standpoint, like, I'm not sure I would give either runner a lead yet. I think the question becomes, when does Fred hit Pyramid Ledge for CT2, and does that kind of fall to the wayside for a while? Like, and that's a tough question, because Pyramid Ledge with all these options, like if you look, we've got mitts. And mitts, and there's our Hera Small. Like, if I'm Fred right now, I'm heading to the mountain. Like, just... Oh, I think for Leaf, the obvious choice here is pod. Like, this was not a question of Leaf waiting on pod any longer. We don't really have better options if we're in Leaf's shoes. Like, their choice is obvious. So Fred finishing up here in the Mire area. I'm going to leave, and we're just heading for the mountain. I mean, you've got Hera Big. You know it's your green pendant. We've got some good options coming up here. Unfortunately, that Dead Rock is, of course, living up to its reputation as just the worst. I did not get to see the Mire Medallion, to be honest. Interesting, Leaf is going to go for the back of pod first before hitting right side. But we will find out our TR medallion. It is in fact Quake. We do need Quake, at least for one dungeon. Well, we can't do right side into Helma without that pod big. Maybe Leaf was hoping for the pod big to show up in the back. That's a shovel. Loving the fetch quests. Yeah, there's that TR small that we were talking about in chat. That does mean that TR has to be a crystal. I don't know if our runners necessarily are paying attention that deep to the logic, but you like to know it. Mushroom. TR map. And just some more junk. But we're going to head back over to the other side of the mountain. Leaf is actually going to spend that 5th pod small key. No. Or that not going to spend that 3rd pod small. I thought maybe we were going to get to see a vanilla big key, but no, Leaf is going to head the rest of the way here on keeping that key just in case. Nice Herapod there from Fred, as Leaf is about to get their Titan's Mitts. This Hera Big Chest and Compass Chest are both in logic, by the way. Nothing out of the big chest. Small key to Meyer there. I don't know. I see the idea of like why you kind of hit, why you might be wanting to be conservative here on your key counts. I can see both cases, to be honest. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer on that one. Like, there is a high likelihood of finding the pod keys in other places, like, and spending the key. Like, you can wait until you get the keys now. As you get pod 4 there off of Helma, or sorry, Moldorm. Fred, why are we not doing the basement? Fred? I mean, it's unlikely because it's locked behind 6 keys, but I still might do it. I think ice is next. Yep. We got Fred, we got Bread, we got, I don't know, do we have Red? I mean, I get your thought here, Bread. Man, I'm gonna really screw up Bread and Fred at some point in this one. Yes, like realistically, but what it could also lock is something like, hey, there's your big key to a dungeon. Like, yeah, it's 6 pod key locked, but so is a TR small. So like, you could just find that you know, Hera Basement now locks TR4 or TR Big or... Of course, we would always love to have Samaria here, but the good old tried and true strat is Ice Palace Bomb Jump. Fred pulled off his beautifully. Meanwhile, Leaf heading into Hookshot Cave. Yeah, I mean, there's many ways to look at it. Like, we don't have Quake Medallion yet, so I'm curious, like, when we're even going to get to TR. How late is Turtle Rock in the logic chain of this seed? Oh, speaking of Quake, there it is. And I really like this play from Leaf. They're gonna just burn this fairy and be able to get the play of Spike Cave. Never know what could come of this one. Like, we have the money to buy potions, and given we just got that mushroom recently, like, there's no real reason not to do this. And hey, a third sword is a great find. Let's get that offensive firepower, folks. So while Fred is going to be the first to a 4th dungeon here, Leaf is up a CT key and a sword. Being a little bit more thorough, having a little bit less traditional of a route in some regards, has led to 2 very clearly important things. And Leaf is scumming that mushroom. Now, save scumming an item is not free by any stretch, by the way, folks. There is time in a reset. It's a lot slower than a save and quit, so we're having a slight loss in it, but it's, you know, maybe there's value in the powder later, and we just don't know it. And since we got that green pendant, Leaf is going immediately to Saha. Let's turn that in. Just as Fred's about to fall in on Cold Stare. But just some bombs. Fred going to use that Bombos medallion now to start off the Cold Stare fight. After this, I expect you, like, the best strat here is to hit the spin up into the left corner and then Fire Rod spam. Generally, what you're able to do with that is you can get a little bit better value of likely more splash hits with Fire Rod if you hit Cold Stare up into the top left. We do get the big key to Turtle Rock and a pendant. So Hera, Ice, and Mire are our pendants for that pod small on the pedestal. By the way, just taking a look there at Fred's tracker, we do not yet have a 5/6 crystal. But Fred gonna go right back into this portal. Is this Pyramid or is this Pod Eastern? This is Pod Eastern. No. This is Pod East, or sorry, this is Pyramid with a quick little detour for Saha. In terms of what we have left right now, because we have the medallions, like Myers looking a little bit more valuable, Smith Chain, we've still got an untouched Eastern Palace. I think the fact that we've got a bow, our runners are hoping to find that Eastern Big before even stepping foot in the dungeon. I get that the determination to kind of stay away, but it's getting more and more tempting. But big moment here for Fred, gonna get the CT small key off of Pyramid Ledge, so that advantage for Leaf gonna go away right here. But like realistically, our runners are starting to draw even. Now, what an advantage Fred will pick up here is the Agate Tower kill, if he continues all the way through. Leaf will have to do a double dip of CT, whereas Fred can go for this single dip on this play. Now, one of the other things I'll point out, that sword for Leaf out of Spike Cave could come back to be a more important piece later on in this race. If you're not familiar with how dense GT is, there are, of course, 27 checks in Ganon's Tower. And while some of them could have a GT big, and we don't know if that's going to be the case yet tonight, what we can say is that if we hit go mode, if we find that GT big before we reach Agate Tower, or sorry, GT, there's nothing really in GT, and that could mean that if Sword 4 is in GT, Fred might not find Sword 4, or Sword 3 in his case. So, some big questions coming up, for sure, on like some of that. And realistically, a lot of the end game, there is value in having that sword. Like, we're going to see some of it here for Leaf coming up on Cold. Honestly, I think, like, if I'm the runners here, I'm probably looking at Smith Chain into Meyer. I'm still trying to probably hard dodge Eastern for a bit. Eastern's a very linear dungeon. Maybe I could do, like, Smith... Like, I think if you pick up the Smith, do Hammer Pegs, then do the Smith turn-in, then grab Purple Chest, and fly to turn that in, since we already did Bombos Tablet earlier... So Leaf going with the Fire Rod strat to take out the shell. Having the Tempered Sword, it makes it pretty good. Bombos is the slowest of the medallions, folks, so not a terrible time loss to just go that strat. Or, like, probably time even with some of what Fred did. Like, I think Leaf had a equally fine Phase 2, but Phase 1 definitely faster there for removing the shell. Now we'll see how Leaf handles their next choice. And this is going to be that Meyer dip. Meyer's an interesting dungeon always. While we can only get 6 checks right now, what we can say is that of those 6 checks, like, they're not terribly... Oh, sorry, Leaf hasn't even done Checkerboard or Meyer Shed, so for Leaf, this is actually a lot of value coming here. But Fred has taken down Aga. If you were unaware, Kabuki and all of our alt dungeon modes for this tournament run on 0 blue balls. That is a flag. Figure with knowing that you have to kill every boss anyway, why even worry about blue balls? So Aga 1 and Aga 2 will both be 0 blue balls, and thus Ganon will be 0 warps. Those are all tied together. Leaf's got the mirror out. What you doing, Leaf? Okay, we are not mirroring. We are going into Mire here. And that was Quake. Good call by chat. Thanks for catching that, everybody. So this is our first real major divergence in this race as Fred heads into Eastern and Leaf is into Mire. In terms of the tournament itself, I would try either Bracket the Challenge, I think has the tourney doc on it. Maybe? Maybe not. But the Discord definitely has information about the tournament. In terms of different flag sets, that's a little bit broader of a question, because while we use so many here, there are just so many that people have come up with over the years of different modes and stuff, so like I can't give you a definitive answer there. Kabuki itself is all dungeons key sanity with a casual boot start. I can give that answer. And yeah, lamp in Eastern is an interesting find. That is a very free lamp. So that means we did have 4 logical checks here. In terms of what we know, we've got a pod small key on the pedestal. So we know that the only thing that could even be in GT tonight is our GT big. And we still haven't found it. Yo, nice rail clip there from Leaf. Map on the bridge, just the Hyrule Castle. That's a very valueless map. And the last check for Fred is the big key to Mire. Oh my gosh. Really unfortunate for Leaf. Unfortunately. So Fred gonna head here. We get a small key to Turtle Rock. That's TR4. So we'll have a fully clearable TR when we get here. And that is a big key to Pod. Oh no! These big keys are just scattered, folks. I think my real concern here for Leaf would have been if Cane of Samaria was in Mire. Okay, like, I gotta say, Lana, respect on the ability to pun there. Like, no doubt, like, slow clap. I mean, the dueling big keys is always a favorite of the decision of, like, which one do you find where, and, like, which one has a little bit better value. As I said, like, Eastern is a very non-linear dungeon, or, like, is a very linear dungeon, so getting back to where the value is in Eastern is a little slow. Whereas like Mire is very like wide of a dungeon. So like it takes a little bit to get into the dungeon and then you can just do everything. That's an ice rod. Very nice. No ice rod hunts. But honestly, if we find Samaria, that's a fully clearable TR. Here's the thing, like, while the pod big is nice to have found, it doesn't have a lot of value right now. Like, if I'm Leaf, I'm not going back to pod on 4 smalls. I'm waiting for a 5th. Probably, like, I don't see the big value in rushing pod here. Like, if I'm Leaf, I'm thinking, like, hey, can I get an Eastern big first? Can I get a pod 5? And if I can get one of those, then, like, I'm really a lot happier. Well, here's the thing. If Fred gets Samaria, and there's Kane on the dig. Wow. Okay. Like, if Fred turns in that shovel, and Fred's gonna dip Mire, okay. If you're rooting for a Leaf, this is huge. This is, like, I don't want to say Leaf is getting bailed here, but dang, that's a big miss for Fred, and is just such a gift to Leaf. Like, if Fred got to single dip Mire, I'm a little bit more scared for Leaf's position. And really what Leaf is hoping now is, does Eastern Big show up in TR and lead to a single Eastern dip? There's the time value. Like, both of our runners are going to double dip Mire for different reasons tonight. Fred's going to have a little bit faster of a return given his checking of the big chest, but that's about it. And yes, with that finding of the cane, we are in logic to pull the ped key. We know at least what the logic is for a pod small. TR4 still a little bit out of logic in that dark maze, but I love when that happens. Fred, unfortunately, hooking through that block and ending up in the cage. That's always a cute little mishap, so very nice, very fun. Okay, TR coming up. We got 12 items here in the Turtle Rock. Let's see what we're getting. Swamp Small, Eastern Big. Those are kind of our big ticket items we need. Or Thieves Big. We're missing 3 things for GT. We are 4 from go, or 4 from no mode as a crowd here, folks. We need GT Big, Eastern Big, Swamp Small, and Thieves Town Big Key to know where everything else is to finish this one. In terms of other items, we still, the runners themselves need. Leaf needs to go to Eastern to get the Mire Big, and Fred needs to head into over to Dig Spot to get that Cane of Samaria. That's the biggest thing for Fred. First up, we got the Swamp Small key there in the TR Compass chest, so nice. We did see Mire Big chest, nothing. And the other side of this still is Leaf with a sword advantage, finding that sword out of Spike Cave. And I'm in complete agreement, Brad. Like, the chances of Leaf getting to single dip Eastern here and combo it with Pod are growing. And that is huge. Okay, Fred, where are you off to? Is this a return to Pod or elsewhere? It's a return to Pod. And these extra dips into the Pod area, while not massively punishing, they're going to add up. Like, sorry, if I'm Leaf here, like, I think I hit Swamp first. I am holding out hope to find my Eastern big before returning to Pod Eastern. And to do that, I am going to hit Swamp Palace. And yes, as if anybody's joined us a little bit late as we cross the hour 10 mark, this is the last race in Group W. We have a group winner in Fibonacci at 6-0 right now. Fred Coughlin sitting at 3 and 2. Leaf sitting at 2 and 3. If Fred wins, Fred gets outright second place in Group W. If Leaf wins, they will force a decisive tiebreaker race next week against Fred. So they could find themselves playing another game to decide who gets the second spot out of Group W. So a lot of a lot riding on this race right now. And like, I'm not going to say either runner's really yet in the lead. I think Leaf has some advantages. Fred hasn't found anything that I feel is super critical. That is Pod 5 though for Leaf, and Leaf knows that, like, that's a full clear because we know where that Pod 6 is on Ped. So like, this just compounds some of the stuff that I'm talking about for Fred. It's like Fred can't get that vanilla big key chest safely. And I don't know if Fred ever finds a way back. I will say, Leaf a little low on health here in the dark maze of TR, sorry. So gonna have to be a little careful. Gonna pull out that hook shot, be extra safe. I think there's a world we hit safety door here on Laser Bridge, just to be extra careful. Like, you really don't want to die and head back to Big Chest. Nice kill. And yep, Leaf going for safety door. Don't blame them one bit for this decision. Of course, we could just get the full health refill off of Laser Bridge. That's fair too, folks. And then we get Sankheart. What is this game? Game, what are you doing to us? I mean, hey, we feel nice and comfy. We're nice and safe now. Everything's good. Get some nice bomb strats here from Fred on the Helma fight. Nicely done. But here's the thing is, like, once again, like, Leaf has just a safer, easier fight with some of these bosses, given their third sword. That's a shield off of Helma, but another crystal. And leave a little early on that spin, but it's an easy cleanup. We're fine. What do we got? Try next drops. Just a heart container. We are even more healthy. Fred is about to go get that Cane of Samaria, and this is not going to be a happy moment for Fred. And yep, here we go. Leaf heading towards Swamp, Fred heading towards TR. Now, on the plus side for Leaf, we did not see a sword in TR, so Fred is not getting another sword right now. The question is, will Fred go to Spike Cave after Turtle Rock, or will he just say, I still don't have it in Logic? Big key to Eastern, and there we go. That's a huge find for Leaf. Gonna be a single dip of Eastern and a return to Pod for the full clear. Leaf is looking for Thieves Big. Of course, Leaf still needs that Meyer Big key and GT Big, but we know at least where the Meyer Big is now. That is in Eastern Palace, and I don't see Leaf missing it. Lana, I don't know about you, I definitely saw Leaf hover all of Turtle Rock. What are you talking about, Lana? Leaf's fingers were working magic through that TR. Leaf setting up for that Samaria diver down. That block might have been a little too far to the right. Yep. So easy. Easy peasy. We also did not find our gold sword here in Swamp. Left side pending. We'll see if Leaf goes back in or decides, I've got 2 crystal dungeons in Eastern and Pod, and I'm not worried. Leaf getting a little more aggressive potentially here as we get later in this race. Very nice kill of Argus there on Leaf's side. And that's our big key too. Ganon's Tower, that is not missable, folks. We're 1 key away from no mode tonight. Where in the world is the Thieves Town big key, folks? And Leaf is skipping left side. Hopefully Leaf does not skip out on that Mire Big, but first up, we're heading to Eastern Pod. Like, I think at least from Leaf's perspective, like, their skip of left side swamp could be saying, hey, I'll come back if I get swamp big. I'll come back if I get swamp big. I'm not too worried right now. Whereas, like, Eastern's like, let me full clear it, hopefully. That's my hope, but I don't know what's going through Leaf's head. I don't race enough against Leaf enough to kind of know for sure how they route. And there's that 5th pod small for Fred. So, like, as I said, like, unfortunately this route for Fred has kind of just hurt a little bit. Leaf about to get that lamp here in Eastern. After getting through most of the dark rooms tonight, you gotta be like, oh, thanks, game. I appreciate you. Gonna just continue chilling here in Eastern Palace with Leaf and TR for Fred. Fred about to come up on a Master Sword Trinex fight, as Leaf is about to pull the Eastern Big Chest, and it is just 50 bucks. I was about to say, Leaf, don't skip Eastern Big Key Chest. And no, Leaf is heading for that Big Key Chest, will get their Mire Big. Backdoor hammer hits from Fred here. Oh baby, there's a fight strat. Nicely done on the Firehead. Leaf getting that and going, okay, I'm 1 from go. Like, that's a good feeling. Just the question, where is it? Where is my Thieves Big Key? Because, like, we don't know the 5/6s. There's always a chance Thieves Big could be Pyramid Fairy right now. Meanwhile, Fred finishing up Trinex. Nice kill. So that puts Fred at 6+ Aga Tower. Leaf currently at 6 minus Aga Tower. So Fred up a dungeon as Leaf's about to, of course, go for that Eastern kill. And oh, that red Igor was a jerk. Or do we say that the Salphos was the jerk? Just a smidge late on that last arrow for that second Igor. And Fred skips out on Spike Cave. The lack of an invulnerability item keeping Fred out of Spike Cave and away from sword number 3. We also find that Eastern does not have the Thieves Big, so we're still searching. So, like, Leaf's up in Eastern. and up a swamp. Fred is up a CT. The big question is, where is Thieves Big? If Fred does left side swamp and it has the Thieves Big, I'm really worried for Leaf. Left side swamp is a tough one, and it's a tough choice to make. However, I will say, if Thieves Big Key is the big key chest of Pod, everything I just said about Fred being in great shape, I will say the same would be the case for Leaf. Like, if you want to know who is in the lead, look how this dungeon ends. These dungeons end. That'll give you a ton of info. In terms of Fred doing left side swamp, I think he's a lot more tempted here. His only checks after this right now are Eastern Big Chest, Armos, and Vidi. So, like, from Fred's perspective, he's got a lot less on the table. A left side swamp play is a lot more likely on his side. Now, he might do the back first, but what he would then do is probably would come back in to find out what the answer is. Like, he could be using the back to kind of give him an idea of what the actual play he needs to make is. Like, when you're 1 or 2 from go, it's a lot more common for a runner to do the back of Swamp Palace first, although Fred just completely bucks any trends that I can think of. Like, he's 2 from go, I get it. Now, while Fred went for some bow strats in phase 2 of Helmasaur, Leaf has a tempered sword and can just go slash, 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 slash. That extra sword does make some difference here, and like we're already seeing that a little bit for Leaf here on that first fight. Moment of truth, folks. Coming up here for both of our runners. Leaf heading back in for the few remaining checks in Pod. Fred gonna give us left side swamp. Which do either of these have the answer? Is Thieves Big in one of these 3 checks? For Fred. No. For Leaf. No. Second check for Fred. No, it's a mirror shield. Pod and Swamp are not the answers, folks. We're looking at Vidi or possibly Pyramid Fairy, as are Thieves Town Big Key now. I don't know what the 5/6s are, Bread, but I gotta imagine it's coming up. We might have them. Yeah, Tofile said Eastern was a red, so there's a very good chance that's the case. Though we've got the reds after all this. Pod and EP, thanks Tofile, appreciate it. I love having some very helpful chat tonight as I'm solo comming here, so having your eyes and ears available has been invaluable chat. That doesn't take anything away from our great trackers tonight as well. Let me just shout everybody out as we're about more than halfway through. As always, follow our runners, Leaf and Fred Coughlin. And joining me tonight here in the booth, we got Holsetti and Malk here. Great to have 2 trackers in these key sanity modes, so thank you to both of you on this one. And yes, Leaf did get the items out of CT. Fred has cleared CT, so we know that that is not our answer. Yeah, and for like Leaf, CT is going to be right before Ganon. I don't even think you rush it like with Pyramid Fairy. I'm doing it right before Ganon as like a free health refill. Oh, good call from chat as well. Yeah, I forgot we did have that Hera big or small key out of pod really early in this one, and neither runner checked it. That was 6 pod key locks, and neither of them went for it. So, good call, chat. Thank you. Like, that's in logic now. Ped's in logic, so pod 6 is available, and everything's kind of cleared up. We had Hera big key on our clear of that dungeon. So yeah, both of our runners checked the big chest. Fred gonna hope for a weapon here in Eastern to make Vidya a little bit cleaner. As we said, like the sword's gonna starting to make a big difference on certain things. And like Vidya is one of those fights that tempered sword is just huge. Unfortunately, no real help there. So it's still gonna be a Master Sword fight for Fred on Vidya. Nice spooky action from Leaf. But Leaf in good health shape for a very traditional NMG style Viddy fight here. Where you take that damage boost and then just, ooh, unfortunately takes a hug from one of the eyes. Few hugs here on eyes. You gotta use that acid as kind of a damage booster. No, Leaf! You used your fairy. We had another fairy! Never mind! I was too, chat. I was too. But it is a small key to Meyer. Ah! We're running out of options, chat. Where are we going, Leaf? Pyramid Fairy, maybe? I think Pyramid Fairy is our best play. And I will say, Leaf, left side swamp's gotta be dead to you, dear friend. We've still got Hera Basement, Ruby. I think this and left and Pyramid Fairy are our last checks. I don't know. I've heard rumor of such a place, but I've also had people tell me that if I don't believe it's there, it can't hurt me. So, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I mean, Fred's hoping for something to just make Viddy better. Like, for Fred, that Viddy fight is going to be painful. We've got no invulnerability. We've got limited arrow count right now. Like, if I'm Fred, I'm like, I don't want to mess with this kind of Viddy fight. Like, give me something, game. But that's a big key, and it is to Thieves Town. That is go mode for Leaf at 133.50. Fred not far behind. Gonna have the advantage of the easy Aga portal access. And here's the thing. With us being in go mode, the only checks Fred is gonna make in GT are likely at the top of the tower. Leaf could have this sword advantage for the rest of the race. And that is not nothing. not only is that huge on Ganon, especially phase 2 and like all the phases, but also the climb. You cannot undersell the value of a tempered sword when dealing with the climb. There are just rooms that go a lot smoother with that sword. I mean, yeah, like, it is really right now a CT versus a Meyer on the advantage department. And in that kind of vein is the sword advantage. I think the sword advantage clears this. Leaf also being really smart here. As you saw, we had the small key from forever ago. We had that Thieves small key like within the first 10 minutes, chat. And Leaf saying, I don't need no hallway key. We're fine. Let's go. Leaf will be first to GT. Fred either will clear Meyer or still be behind Leaf on the path to GT. Yeah, Leaf's in GT first. There's not a world where Leaf does CT before GT. Leaf will do CT right before Ganon. I think that was too high. Oof. Leaf. Yeah, in terms of who gets to Ganon first, I'm gonna say right now, I think Leaf is in a better position. Like, CT's not a long dungeon. It feels long, but it's not terribly long. And the other side of it, of course, is the Vidi fight for Fred is gonna be slow. Fred needs some equipment, something, and he's just not... Like, we're seeing from Leaf, like, where is it? And we're just going, like, there's not a sword. Silvers haven't shown up yet. Yo, stun prize. Oh, no. Okay, that is huge for Fred. Fred is going to get bailed out by a sword in blind cell. There's not a world where Fred misses that sword. And, yep, there's the evening up of that side of things. It does guarantee Leaf the 1-in-1, but for a runner as experienced as Fred, I don't think he misses that 1-in-1 either now. Here's the thing. While Leaf can feel a little bit annoyed maybe about that 4th sword showing up in a very easy spot, what we can say is Leaf has had that sword for so long that, like, the advantages on other dungeons is unmistakable. Like, Leaf had it for Trinex and just had a smoother fight. Leaf had it for Cold Stare, Helma, Argus. Like, Leaf's fights with Tempered have been just that much more important up to this point. So I won't undersell those. And yeah, here's Fred heading to Mar to finish this one up. In terms of lead right now, folks, I'm not sure. This is a tough one to predict. I like Leaf's position overall, but I don't think it's guaranteed. This is going to come down to, like, this is an execution battle here. Whoever just clutches these last few dungeons out, and these dungeons are heavy execution, and, like, right there is one of those things that Fred did really nicely. That was a good Meyer too. But here we go. Leaf opening up GT and gonna enter at about 139.35. Yep. So question's gonna be, how far behind into GT is Fred? Now, of course, this fight for Fred, he got that really nice improvement on weapon, and Fred having a really, like, a decent fight here for Vidi. Not perfect. Definitely still some errors, but I'll say it, it's faster than what Leaf had with that death and fairy usage. Nice G5 there to close out the gauntlet on Leaf's end. Fred heading for Death Mountain and GT for his last dungeon. By the looks of it, I think Leaf is going to be up about 2.5 to 3 minutes entering GT. This might not be enough. You're right, Ruby. I'm not entirely sure. It's hard to say right now. I am not 100% sure this is enough on Leaf's side. Sorry, this might be closer to 3-minute entry difference. I thought it was only going to be 30, like it was 39:37 on the door walk-in, and we're looking at about a 3-minute difference. And yeah, no, there is no real advantage for Gold Sword in the Ganon fight. Like, if you can hit phase 1 and 2 with Temperate Sword, they'll both be 1-on-1s. And besides that, it's pretty, like, phase 2 or phase 4 doesn't matter. Spins are equal. Nice double there to start this fight. As we said, there are no blue balls in either of the Aga fights, so 2-2. If we can get another 2 here. Nice, 2-2-2 for Leaf, a good solid 3-phase. I think that's going to be a real hard pattern to hit a double-triple, so I don't think Fred saves time on that fight. So really important 3-phase there from Leaf. Leaf remembering the all-important fact, you have to kill Aga 1. And here's the thing, Leaf is going to have to use that gold sword to their advantage throughout this climb. Pretty much everything in Aga Tower dies to one slash of this sword, so every room you can rely on that fact is to your advantage. Fred doing a great job here, though, through through Ganon's tower. Like, good room there for the arrow guard, though, for Leaf, so keeping good pace here. As I said, Gold Sword is going to put in work if Leaf is going to take this. Leaf needs to really get all these kills like this. And they're keeping it going. That Circle of Pots room, always a little bit tricky. That red guard really getting in Leaf's way. But Leaf already into that last floor before Aga. Folks, I don't know. I will say, if Leaf is a gamer, this is the moment to be one. Oh no, Fred falling there at Moldorm 2. That is a huge drop. Moldorm having an influence tonight on this race. If Leaf was behind before, this is huge. That's a poke. Fred getting some rage there for Moldorm, getting an angry Moldorm phase. That's rough. And we're opening the last chest, Possession, and it is nothing. If those were silvers, that could have been big, but it's not. And yeah, like, Leaf is not far behind. There's the lightning phase we knew where you were going to get. 2 more hits for Leaf, and that's going to close out the Aga fight on their end. Fred has this Aga 2 fight starting. Nice double to start from Fred. As I said, I didn't think the triple was possible and not going to happen there on Fred's side either. There's a double to start. Can Fred clutch out? No, this is not the same. But does get their fight done for GT as Leaf drops into the pyramid for Ganon. Fred's got the cutscene first. We get some dash strats now on Leaf's side. Love to see it. Nice. Leaf through phase 2. Fred about to drop in as Leaf into phase 3. We got plenty of health. We have the safety in this one. The more triples, the better for our runners. We'll see what happens. Okay, there we are. Phase 3 done. Fred into phase 4. Or sorry, phase 2. There's our torch glitch. 12 spins are all that stands between Leaf and this tiebreaker. Fred into phase 3. Triples are very hard, by the way, folks. Leaf getting the doubles, just missing the triples, unfortunately. But that is an exploding pig for Leaf. Just has to cross a bridge. As Leaf finishes with an official race time of 149.33. This is going to give us that all-important tiebreaker race. Winner takes all. Game 3 between Leaf and Fred Coughlin as Fred gets his exploding pig. Gonna cross that bridge as well and finish up with an official time of 149.53. GG's to Fred Coughlin. Leaf, GG.
That was a nail biter by the look of it. I hear Moldorf wanted there be a game 3.
Apparently, I will say,
is what this is now is the tiebreaker is effectively just a best of 3.
Yep. I have to say, you had that sword advantage for so long. That sword out of Spike Cave were like, this is really important. And then
Spike Cave literally tried to win the game for both of us.
Spike Cave could have won you that game, and then Fred pulls that. You pulled the sword out of Thieves, blind sell, and we're like, there goes the advantage. And
how about that silver hint though? But what a nail biter! I'm shaking.
I can imagine those are always the craziest ones, and knowing that your tournament life is on the line there and pulling that one out, nice.
So, yeah. Also, it's just great to get to race somebody of Fred's caliber, personality.
I can't deny it. I got to race Fred, I think, for the first time, like, legitimately in a tournament this year as well. So,
I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The guy is basically the community's dad, and we all love him for it.
I think a few communities can claim that. Like, I know a bunch of people would probably say the same, of course, about Z1, so...
I would honestly argue that, for the most part, he kind of counts as the overall dad for randomizers in general, because Z1R was kind of the first one to make it big, other than us.
Yeah.
So, I would honestly argue that he's kind of just randomizer's dad.
So, but yeah, and quite an interesting
it's a pleasure to race every time.
Yeah, I will say there was a couple of things that really kind of worked out. You getting that cane after the Meyer play, we were a little concerned because Fred pulled Meyer big, but Fred dipped Meyer without hitting dig spot first. So you both had a double dip of Meyer kind of pop up. You got to single dip Eastern, where Fred got to single dip CT. A lot of back and forth in this one. I think collection-wise, Fred might have had a few extra checks over you, but I don't think it's a lot.
It would have to literally be left side swamp. Then if Fred did left side, that's the only thing I have left on the map.
I think Fred did pick up maybe the heart container on the mushroom turn-in, whereas you save scummed it. Like, maybe a couple little visible differences, but nothing major.
I scummed it in case it ever became convenient to do Magic Bat, but it never became convenient to do Magic Bat.
No, because as soon as you got that cane, you're pretty much in go to dungeon, go to dungeon, go to dungeon.
I'll admit, I was very concerned at the end when it was down to a actual honest-to-goodness 50-50. Because
you actually had one check left that I think you might have forgotten about.
Hit me.
Hera Basement?
I had it in mind. I forgot that was eligible for... I completely forgot it was eligible for Thieves Town because my brain forgot for half a moment that it was eligible for Thieves Town Big Key, not Meyer Big Key.
Fair enough.
That's actually kind of why I went into Meyer before Pod, even though it makes more sense to flute from Eastern. Not Meyer, Eastern before Pod. Because if I'd found the Thieves Big in Eastern instead of the Meyer Big, then I just blitz helmet and leave.
Sure.
Because that Meyer, if it were Meyer Big Go mode, that Pod key on Ped was a massive tell.
Yep. No, that was such huge info, and like when you pulled CT1 off of Pyramid Ledge, and then we saw CT2 on Fred's side in 45. We're like, okay, it's just a question of where's GT Big? Because like
On the
this
path.
season,
Unavoidable.
yeah, exactly. There was no way a runner is missing that GT Big tonight. So like, in terms of info, that is just huge. And like, if that fourth sword was in GT Basement, like,
then it would have been a massive advantage to me.
yeah, that Spike Cave sword becomes even more important. Unfortunately, Blind Cell like just makes that not. But still, like as we said, like Moldorm had a say tonight.
Sometimes even the best runners have a mistake happen.
Yep. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I know that the scheduling thing is like next week for tiebreakers, most likely. Although I guess the two of you could technically go sooner.
We'll probably ask the admins their thoughts on that.
Yeah, like I don't think it says you can't do it this week. I don't quote me. I'm just a lowly moderator. But
you know more than me. I'm just a lowly player.
What I will say is, you know, when you two decide to do that, that'll be great for the viewing public. In terms of
we do
mode,
know the
I
modes
believe...
we're choosing between.
Okay.
Because it doesn't enforce that we have to pick from the third. It does not enforce the third mode choice because we can choose from any of the modes we agree on. If we don't agree on something, it defaults to Kabuki. We actually took a look at the rules, so. But Fred actually chose this mode with a proposal for how to handle Game 3 in mind.
Okay.
We're going to choose between one of two modes, and I'll say what two modes are, because we've already agreed to choose between the two.
Cool.
It's either going to be Tile Swap.
Cool.
Or a rematch of last week with Cross Keys.
Nice.
I mean, you know how much Fred and I both enjoy a good game of Cross Keys.
Of course. So yeah, you heard it here first, folks. Leaf and Fred
maybe we'll try and convince
tiebreaker.
Maybe we'll try and figure out how to do Tile Swap Cross Keys. The admins would totally go for that.
Yeah, I love the idea of a surprise mode. Let me get right on talking to those admins about doing that. But yeah,
for legal reasons, that's a joke.
Yes. But yeah, so expect a tile swap or cross keys tiebreaker race next week. I believe we've still got plenty of situations where we could see tiebreakers in other groups. I know that there was that race going on over on SG2 between Kappa and Inco. That has some implications. I can say that a personal friend has some races this weekend that have potential for forcing a tiebreaker. So we shall see how those kind of shake out. So expect at least a few tiebreakers next week. Or at least one, maybe more. Who knows? I don't.
There are several of them on them. I actually looked at the challenge. There are several that have to be figured out. So
cool. So
and now mine's in the list too.
And now yours is in that list too. So once again, for Group W, we do know the group winner, Fibonacci. Fibonacci's a beast.
PH and I had two very close races that could have gone either way, but the man went 6-0. So
yeah, we got even CRs, by the way.
The fact that we both pulled a one. How did this happen? It's because I skipped that heart piece in the Lost Woods and the heart on Mushroom.
Well, Fred did skip that heart piece, but Fred pulled Moldorm's treasure, so.
You mean Fred opened Moldorm's treasure and I bombed it?
Yes. I mean, Fred did drop 2 bombs there. So you only dropped 1 bomb, Fred dropped 2 and took the item.
I did the Fred classic of bomb validation chest.
You know, what you gotta do sometimes.
I'm raising Fred. I'm going to do it just as a tribute to the man.
Awesome.
So, but,
good call, Ruby. We could have had a 169. But yeah, so as I said, good job from PH taking this group, and we have a fight for second right now between Leaf and Fred. That'll be a tiebreaker race sometime within the next week and a half, so expect to see that pop up on the schedule. I will say hopefully we can get some crew together to make this all happen. because I want to see it, and I'm sure Speed Gaming would love to see it as well. So do make sure to keep your eyes out for folks for that when it comes up. We still got some races for the rest of this week. Group play does not officially end till the end of the day Sunday, so plenty of races over the next 4 days. Although we're pretty much done for the week, I know, or for the night, sorry.
I mean,
yeah, big shout outs to our trackers tonight. Oh, what do we have for tomorrow night? Let me pull up that look, because
as you were saying, big shout outs to Holseti and Malkier. We adore trackers in this community. And I'm going to be honest, I was really surprised that we got trackers on this race before the other one that was scheduled.
In terms of the races tomorrow that I see on the schedule, first up at 1 p.m. Eastern, Group A, casual boots race between Entapel and Joubert. That's going to be on Speed Gaming, and it looks like we're going to have a simulcast on Speed Gaming Deutsch. Then at 3:30 p.m.,
that surprised me with that matchup.
Yeah, Group Q, we got an AD tile swap between Dirthus and Flying Platypus Dimitri. Going to be on Speed Gaming. 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Group U, that's my group. Casual boost race between. It is Dr. Marty versus Silly Kyle. That's going to be on Speed Gaming too. Then at 6 p.m., Centroid versus Homemade Beer, Group N AD tile swap. That's going to be on Speed Gaming. 7 p.m. Raja versus T-Stew. I do not see. It's going to be casual boots there on Speed Gaming too.
I don't know what group that is off the top of my head.
I don't know either. That's not. And it looks like the night schedule has not yet been decided on restreams. I know that our SG helpers, such as one Mr. Adirondack Rick, will do some assignments later on that front. So we'll see if we get to see some more there. But so that at least covers up us through the early evening, and we'll see if some of our night races get added to the schedule. So that's going to be your Thursday list of stuff going on.
By night races, you mean which game does Rick want to throw on the 8 o'clock slot of the 4 games there?
Yeah, we've got a pretty busy slot starting at 8. We've got, for options, actually, I think there's a good chance I know which one for sure is getting picked up. The fact that Centroid and Homemade Beer is one of the races, and they're already racing at 6, so that's a double header. Like, maybe that gets picked up, but I do see an 8 p.m. Kabuki between Gabriel Campos and Jamo, and I see some comms already signed up there, and, like, if you want to see a race get put on, folks, sign up to Comet. What that does for not just us as a crew assigning, like, for comm mods and tracker mods, it's like, hey, we know we got people there. It also tells our scheduling coordinators, hey, we've got crew, put this race on. So it really does a service to everybody from running things in the community. So I appreciate it as a comm mod, and I'm sure Rick appreciates it as kind of our SG coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
But I will also say we've got,
it.
We've got that 8 p.m. Kabuki of MM2 and Tenet, and
that one has
8 p.m.
That one, I believe, has playoff implications.
8 p.m. also has BSJ versus Astro Felipe. So yeah, as you said, we've got 4 races at 8 p.m. tonight. Don't be surprised if one of them gets put on. That looks like it's all for the Thursday, though. So,
and then we've just got a busy weekend. So
yeah,
keep your eyes peeled all weekend on Speed Gaming channels.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've got 2 races left to finish on my end.
Suddenly, I have one more.
I don't think I'll have to schedule a tiebreaker. That's good. I'm glad I don't have to worry about that side of things.
But again, yeah, thank you to Holseti and Malkier. We love trackers. Please keep helping us. Especially, please keep helping our solo comms. I bet Jesse was very appreciative of having trackers in chat.
Oh, I signed up on a whim at the last second. I showed up in the voice channel, and Sigma, who did your setup tonight, goes, "Why are you here?" It's like, I decided to come.
Well, thank you for this last-minute commentary, my friend.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun. So yeah, do make sure to follow our run.
It's one of our. I know it's one of your favorite modes. You know it's one of my favorite modes.
Exactly. Who doesn't love a good Kabuki? So, but once again, do give a follow to Windblown Leaf and fcoughlin, 2 long-standing members of this community and 2 really great people. And yeah, watch races, have fun. If the race on SG2 is still happening, go check that out. I think that one has comms as well. I think it's what, Arya and Dr. Earworm.
Yeah, that was
Go listen to
Arya
them.
and Doc. That's a good
Yeah.
com.
Yeah. So like, go have fun as we see Fred is swapping games.
Worlds collide. Have fun. This is FF6.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Have a good night, though, everybody, and we'll talk to you later.
Good night. See you next mission.